Hello everybody, Killer Winston here, and today I will be doing With Deku was Tristan Part 11. So, in the last part, Deku just found out that Delia has a cousin, her cousin being Lancelot, them basically having a fight. And after that fight, Deku would have told Delia that he is not human, and that he is half demon, half goddess. Now, continuing the story, whenever Deku told Delia that he is not human and that he is half demon, half goddess, Delia would have been surprised and, well, shocked. Her just turning around and walking over to her bed, as she would have crawled in and told Deku that she is tired and that she wants to go to sleep, which Deku, after hearing that, he would have been confused by, since a second ago Delia was very energetic, or well, seemed not tired at all. But since Deku doesn't know anything about goddess powers and how to properly use them, he would have just thought that he is not strong enough to fully heal Delia. Him just turning around and being very angry at himself, with Deku crawling onto his bed and going to sleep as well. Now, it would have been the next day, with Recovery Girl coming into the recovery room to check on both Delia and Deku, her being completely shocked to see that both Deku and Delia are completely healed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this in the last video, but whenever Deku healed Delia, he also unknowingly healed himself. So that's why he went on and fight Lancelot, since he doesn't feel like that he's injured anymore, which he's not. So after running some tests to see if they are truly fully healed, which they are, Recovery Girl would have informed both Deku and Delia about their, well, break, since they were attacked by the villains. And after hearing that, both Deku and Delia would have basically went back home. And whenever Deku got back home and opened the door, Inko would have immediately run forward and hugged Deku, because it has been 1 day since she saw her son. And after that, Deku in his little break, he would have continued his training with Zeldris, since he thinks that he is not strong enough. Also in their training, Deku would have also asked Zeldris if he can basically teach Deku how to use his goddess powers, which Zeldris, hearing that, he would have been surprised by. Even though he knows that Deku is half demon, half goddess, he didn't anticipate Deku to awaken his goddess power this, well, early. Him just basically telling Deku that he doesn't know how to teach Deku to use his goddess powers, but he does know what they are mostly used for. You know, healing others and manipulating those light particles, with Zeldris just basically explaining to Deku that he can use his goddess powers for creating and manipulating light particles, also healing others, which I believe those light particles are called arc? Yeah, I think it's called arc. Now, whenever the break ended, Deku would have went back to school, him just continuing school like the usual, with Aizawa telling the entire Class 1A about the UA Sports Festival. And yes, I mean the entire Class 1A, because Bakugo is there as well, since he is all patched up and out of the recovery room like an hour before Deku woke up. And after Aizawa announced the sports festival, the entire Class 1A would have been, well, pumped, as Aizawa would have continued to announce that they have 2 weeks to prepare for the big day. And by the big day, I mean the UA Sports Festival. After that, the rest would have been the same as the anime. So let's just time skip to 2 weeks later. And in those 2 weeks, Deku would have been training with Zeldris even more, since, he wants to get stronger. Also, whenever Deku was in school in those 2 weeks, basically after Dahlia heard that he is not human and is half demon, half goddess, Deku noticed that Dahlia is basically avoiding him. Deku, seeing all that, he would have been confused because he doesn't know what he, did. Him just thinking that Dahlia is angry at him for, not being strong enough. This just making Deku angrier and training even harder, as it would have been the day of the sports festival. It beginning with Midnight telling everyone that Izuku Midoriya, the one who got first place in the entrance exam, is going to give a speech. Her calling Deku up to the stage, which after getting on stage, Deku would have grabbed the mic and start to tap on it. Him saying, "I'm sorry, is this on? Oh, it is? Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Izuku Midoriya and I am the one who got first place in the entrance exam. So I was told to write down some things and give a speech. But yeah, I didn't have any good things to write, so I'm just going to say what's on top of my head. Try your best, do your best, don't give up, and plus ultra." Which, after hearing that, the, crowd would have started to cheer. But before Deku puts down the mic, he would have remembered something. Him saying, "Oh yeah, one more thing. Don't cry when you lose against me, because I'm the weakest." Everyone being confused, as Monoma would have said, "What do you mean you're the weakest? You got first place in the entrance exam." "Well, my master once said, the weaker you say you are, the stronger you are." Everyone being even more confused, Monoma continuing to yell at Deku singing, "What does that even mean? That doesn't even make sense." Well, basically, what I'm trying to say is, don't underestimate your enemies, otherwise, they are going to beat the living hell out of you. As Deku would have turned his head over to Bakugo. Bakugo, seeing that, he would have yelled back at Deku singing, "What are you looking at, Deku?" "Oh, nothing, I'm just thinking of a rematch, that's all." As Deku would have walked off stage, with Bakugo thinking, "Oh crap, what did I just got myself into?" Now, after Deku's, speech, it would have been time for the obstacle course. It beginning with Prison Mike's countdown, as whenever it reached 0, Deku would have immediately rushed forward, him being in front of the, entire school, or all of his classmates, which Todoroki, seeing that, he still would have did what he did in the anime, freezing the entrance. But before he actually can, Dahlia would have also shoot out of the crowd, her passing Todoroki and continuing the race. As for Bakugo, he would have just basically blast through the ice, as that was when Deku would have arrived at the place where there were robots. Deku, seeing that, he would have immediately used Rebellion to create swords, him rushing in and immediately slicing every single robot into a billion pieces. And for those that were not in front of Deku, or just weren't slashed into a billion pieces, they were basically spared. With Dahlia being close behind Deku, she would have manipulated the vines underneath the robots to basically wrap around the robot. And after she ran past all of the robots, they would have been released from the vines. As for both Todoroki and Bakugo, they would have did the same thing they did in the anime, them having to fight for the third place, since both Deku and Dahlia are far ahead of them. And speaking of both Deku and Dahlia, they would have arrived at the second obstacle, which I believe it is called the fall. And whenever Deku arrived, he would have basically parkour his way through the entire obstacle. With Dahlia, since she is a fairy, she, using her vines, would have flung herself high up into the air, and simply fly through the entire thing. Also, I know you guys are wondering why Deku didn't just simply fly through the entire thing as well, since he's a demon and all. Yeah, Deku knows that he can fly, but he just doesn't want to do it just yet, since he wants to keep it a secret. Well, for now at least. As whenever Dahlia passed the second obstacle, she would have turned her back and see that Deku is still parkouring through the second obstacle. Her seeing that would have immediately turned around and continued to run, since she wants to keep her lead. And after a few seconds of Dahlia passing the second obstacle, Deku would have also passed the second obstacle, him not losing any momentum in the entire, well, obstacle course. Now, that was when the rest of the students would have arrived at the second obstacle, them only seeing Deku leaving the second obstacle and going into the third. Bakugo, seeing that Deku is far ahead of him, he would have gotten angrier, as he would have stopped fighting with Todoroki, him having to blast forward with all of his, well, strength. Him basically trying to catch up to Deku and Dahlia. But yeah, both Deku and Dahlia already arrived at the third obstacle, you know, the minefield. Dahlia, seeing the minefield, she would have slowed down and tried not to trigger any explosions. But that was when Deku would have caught up and, well, using his momentum, he would have just ran through the entire thing, him triggering most if not all of the mines that are in front of him. As whenever the mines are about to explode, yeah, Deku has already passed through the entire third obstacle, with the mines having to explode right behind Deku. Dahlia, seeing that Deku just literally ran through the entire minefield, she would have followed Deku and ran on the path where he just ran through. So with that being said, Deku would have gotten first place, with Dahlia getting second place. As for the third place, it is either going to be Todoroki or Bakugo. And since Bakugo is a bit stronger than his canon counterpart, he would have gotten third place, with Todoroki getting fourth. Now, after the obstacle course, it would have been the cavalry battle. And just like the anime, Deku would have given 10 million points. So no one wants to join his team. And at first, Deku wanted to team up with Dahlia since they're friends. But yeah, Dahlia is still avoiding Deku, which still confuses Deku. Deku thinking since Dahlia is not going to be on his team, he would have to find another teammate. Him trying to think of a good teammate, as that was when Mei Hatsume would have walked up to Deku asking to be in his team, which Deku of course allows her to be on his team. And just like the anime, Deku would have walked up to Tokuyami asking if he would like to be on his team, which at first Tokuyami would not want to be on Deku's team. But after Deku explained his plan, yeah, Tokuyami would have changed his mind and be on Deku's team. So, unlike the anime, Deku would only have two teammates. Also, if you were wondering why Uraraka Ochako is not on Deku's team, it's because she and Deku are not as close as the anime, so she will be on another team. Now, over with Dahlia, she, knowing that Deku hates Bakugo, she would not have joined Bakugo's team. Instead, she would have joined Todoroki's team, her basically replacing Kaminari. Also, another thing that is different from the anime is that Deku is not the one with the headband. It would have been Tokuyami, as that was when the cavalry battle would have begun. It starting off with everyone running towards Tokuyami's team, or well, Deku's team, since they do have the most points. But before they can even reach Deku's team, Deku and his entire team would have disappeared, everyone being confused as they would have looked up to find that Deku has dark wings, and Mei Hatsume has a, well, jetpack. Them basically floating in the air, as the ones who has a long-ranged quirk and are not in Class 1A, they would have tried to use their quirks to shoot Deku down, which Deku seeing that, he would just use Rebellion to create a sword, him swinging his sword and using full counter, with the quirks that are flying at Deku reflecting back towards the ones that fired at Deku, them being surprised as they would have been hit by their own quirks. As that was when stone pillars would start to shoot out of the ground from under Deku's team. This surprising Deku as it would have almost hit Deku, him immediately breaking that stone pillar as Bakugo would have been right in front of Deku. But before Bakugo can do anything else, that was when Dark Shadow would have shoot out of Tokuyami's, well, body, him having to smack Bakugo across the face. But before Bakugo lands on the ground, Zero would have catch Bakugo and basically regroup with him. But that was when Class 1A would have noticed that Dark Shadow is a bit bigger than usual. And by a bit, I mean Dark Shadow is as big as Deku's entire team. And that was when we would have a flashback to when Deku is convincing Tokuyami to join his team. Deku saying, "Look Tokuyami, I have a plan." "Okay, then would you mind telling me what that plan of yours is?" "Sure, my plan is to cover Dark Shadow with my darkness." "What?" "Since, like you said, Dark Shadow is a lot stronger at nighttime. So if I cover Dark Shadow with my darkness, it, in theory, should make Dark Shadow stronger, since he is covered in darkness. So with you and me being a combination, we should be able to win this cavalry battle." Tokuyami, after thinking a bit, he would have said, "Your plan is very good, Midoriya, but the thing is, I might not be able to control Dark Shadow, since at nighttime he is more unruly than usual." Deku, after hearing that, he would have started thinking as well. After thinking, he would have said, "Oh, that. Don't worry, I think, in theory, I should be able to control Dark Shadow as well, since I'm covering him with my darkness." Now, back in real time, Deku and his entire team is still floating in the air, with both Tokuyami and Deku having to control Dark Shadow, them telling Dark Shadow to protect their entire team. And by protect, I mean destroy anything that is going straight at them. This, of course, includes ice pillars, vines, stone pillars, and stuff like that. Bakugo, seeing that, he would have immediately blast towards Dark Shadow, him knowing that Dark Shadow's weakness is, well, the light, him firing an explosion at Dark Shadow point blank. But to everyone's surprise, Dark Shadow is unaffected, Bakugo being, well, smacked away like a bug again. Also, if you were wondering why Bakugo's explosions has no effect on Dark Shadow, It's because Dark Shadow is covered by Deku's darkness. So basically, Bakugo exploded Deku's darkness, not Dark Shadow. So for the first 25 minutes or so, Deku and his entire team are still floating in the air. But that was when Mei Hatsume would have told both Deku and Tokuyami that her jetpack is out of juice. Well, about to be. Her asking Deku and Tokuyami if they have a plan, which Deku would just say, "Of course we do, we land." Tokuyami asking, "But if we do land, then wouldn't we risk losing our headband?" "Yes, we do, but Master once said the best defense is attack. So we take the fight to them." Sure, but how do you suppose we land? Because we are currently surrounded by both Todoroki's team and Bakugo's team. Oh, that. Easy. We just land. As Deku's entire team would start to descend back onto the ground, which everyone in the entire arena sees, as they would have started to run towards Deku's team and fire their quirks, which whenever they landed, Deku would have immediately told Mei Hatsume that she needs to switch places with Deku, which she does, her basically carrying Tokuyami, while Deku would have used Rebellion to create another sword, him turning over to the incoming quirks and using full counter saying, "Seriously? Did you already forgot that I can use full counter?" After Deku said that, both Mei Hatsume and Tokuyami would start to basically run around the entire arena, with Tokuyami flashbacking to when they are descending from the sky, or well, the air, with Deku saying, "Mei Hatsume, whenever we land, you need to switch places with me. And then after I say full counter, start running like hell. Dark Shadow, protect Tokuyami and his headband. As for you, Tokuyami, try not to fall over onto the ground, because this might be a tough ride." Tokuyami nodding and saying, "But what about you?" "As for me, I am going to be the attacker." With the flashback ending, as whenever Deku basically left his team, some of the students would start to yell, "Hey, that's cheating!" Deku just saying, "Cheating? No. The rules only said that we have to maintain a horse configuration. They never said we can't separate." Everyone being confused as they would start to think about it. And while they were thinking about the rules and what Deku just said, Deku would have immediately rushed in and basically take everyone's headband, him putting all of those headbands on his neck, as all of the other teams would have noticed that their headbands are gone, them looking back to see Deku with a lot of headbands, with everyone just immediately running towards Deku and trying to get their headbands back, to which Deku would have asked Midnight how much time they have left, with Midnight telling Deku that they have about 1 minute left, as that was when Deku would have been surrounded by every single team. Him seeing that would have taken off every single headband, him saying, "You heard the lady last minute." So, sudden death, as Deku would have thrown every single headband in the air, him continuing to say, "3 points for everyone, that is if you get them. Don't worry, take your time." As Deku would have disappeared, with every single team rushing in and trying to grab the most points. Now, whenever the cavalry battle ended, the team who got the most points is, of course, Tokuyami's team, or should I say Deku's team. Next is Todoroki's team, and after that it is Bakugo's team, As for the fourth and final team, let's say it is Shinso's team. And that will be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. That will be amazing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!